Well, I'm Anthony Holmes. This is my wife, Deena Holmes. And we are Divine Research Society of Unexplained Phenomena. The reason why we chose that name is if you're familiar with the hauntings and all that, people research ghosts and stuff. But we want to do more than that. It's more than just ghosts out there. You have tons of UFO sightings. You have tons of people who are having Bigfoot sightings or any type of sighting. So we don't want to get boxed in to ghosts. You could get bored with one thing, and I could easily get bored. And we wanted to do that. So we research everything. We do paranormal, ghosts, things like that. We research Bigfoot sightings. We're also part of MUFON, which is the largest UFO network in the U.S. And people who have sightings and stuff, and people who believe, people who don't. But when you get not just thousands, but millions of people across the nation and every other country having sightings, there's something going on. You cannot debunk that. It's too large of a crowd. Yeah. And then you have a lot of people who are having these experiences, or top-notch people who are in high ranks of military, government, and stuff like that. So, and just to talk about that for just 1 second, all the other countries are opening their files to the public of what's going on about UFOs and stuff like that. The only one that's not is the U.S. China, everyone, Japan is opening up to the public. And the only reason why America said they don't want to, because of the cause of mass panic. But the universe is huge. You opening up the fish you find in the sea that you never seen before to the public. So what's the difference whether it's in water or in the sky? And Trump is, if he's put together this space military thing. Yeah, this checking out stuff like that. So that's interesting. But a little bit about how I got into this real quick is when I was coming up, I'm a drummer. So I do West African drumming, Middle Eastern, Indian, you name it, I've done it. And when you drumming at ceremonies and stuff, African or whatever, and rituals, and you see stuff happen in the supernatural that's like, whoa, that's real. It opens your eyes. I tell everybody all the time that if you're in Africa and you do something to someone, they're not going to call the police. They just going to go to their little place, and whatever they do, hopefully you wake up the next day. That's how they handle stuff. And the thing about it is that the third world countries, they live this paranormal every day. They depend on the paranormal in their stuff. A lot of their jobs is working with the paranormal, helping people, whatever. The U.S., only thing here you got paranormal is ghost hunting or your church service. Biblically, the whole Bible's paranormal. Everything that happened in there is miraculous and done by God, and that's in that paranormal realm. And I tell people all the time that we are first a spirit, we have a soul, and we live in a body. Our original state of being is spirit. That's the paranormal side. And everything in the natural is temporary. All this is going to fade away. When you die, you can't take nothing with you. Nothing at all but yourself. And that's the real realm. And we all will go to that room one day. I tell people that that's one appointment you will not miss is death. You cannot change it. You just won't miss it. So just be ready when it comes. Now, coming up around the paranormal stuff like that, I started getting interest into doing ghost hunting. And I met my wife and stuff. She was a skeptic when I met her. Stuff on TV. I'm like that too about these TV shows. After every commercial, something happened. It doesn't happen that way. You can investigate a place. We've done places from like 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning, and nothing happened. So it amazes me how something happened after every commercial. You know, a lot of these people in these shows need to read the contract before you get into it, because sometimes if nothing happened, that producer going to be like, well, make something happen. You signed this contract. I want this. This is what the crowd likes. So do that. And, you know, and they think it happens. No, it's betraying a lot of people. So many people being betrayed. So, yeah, man. So many people are being betrayed. So I'm telling people all the time, you have to be careful for that, you know, because the biggest thing I don't like about it is that when people are watching these paranormal shows, now some of them can be legit in some areas, but when people are watching these paranormal shows, that's making people interest. And then when they get their interest into it, they start buying stuff and going out there and doing anything and not knowing what they're doing. They reenacting the show, hoping stuff happen. And I tell people all the time, there's always a good side. There's always a bad side. In the paranormal realm, there is also a good side. When you get out there diddling with stuff you don't understand, you open yourself up for things to happen. And the way the negativity take place in these realms is they attack your aura. And when they mix in with your aura, that messes you up. All kinds of stuff happen. So what I tell people is that the number one thing to do is protect yourself. You have to really think about what you're doing. If you're not experienced at it, don't do it. Learn. You know, talk to someone who knows. If you don't know something, don't be afraid to ask somebody. I used to ask billions of people, what's that? What's the, you know? And now that we're under, you heard of Lorraine Warren? You? Yeah, okay, yeah. So we're under her now. And if we have questions, we ask her or Tony or somebody about what's going on. And they say what you have to do before you get into this stuff is pray. You have to pray. You have to ask God to cover you when you're going out there into those realms, to protect you from seen and unseen dangers, because you just don't know. We have ran into some stuff. We did a investigation at Ohio State Reformatory. And that's where they filmed Shawshank Redemption. And when they filmed that, number one, the prison is huge. We went up there with a group, and these groups, they break up in fives. Every time we go, it's just the two of us. Everybody have 6 people in a group and stuff. It's just the two of us. So we are like in cell block, West Wing, the biggest cell block I ever seen in my life. And we started setting up equipment and stuff. We was running our recorders. And I asked my wife, I said, so how high or low or whatever should I put it? And his voice says a little bit higher. No, lower. Which one? Lower. Just like I'm talking to you. And I was like, oh boy, that's weird. And then when I'm looking down the hall, there's a pair of red eyes staring at me. Now, you know there are animals everywhere. In the dark, their eyes look red. But raccoons are small. This thing was taller than me. So I said, that ain't an animal. That's a human or something is back there playing games or whatever. And as it moved real slow like this to our right and disappeared. And I said, well, we need to go down there and check it out because we need to see what's going on. So I was kind of hesitant. But after a while, we went down to the end of the cell block to go to that corner where it went. And there was no way out. It was just a hall, just a blank hall, no steps, no windows, just a wall. So whatever it was, it went through there and went on to wherever it was going. No doors, nothing. That grabbed our attention. So I said, whoa, let's go somewhere else. We went to the other side of the cell block and start hearing things, and all kinds of stuff started happening. Then you smell a weird smell. My wife got an attachment that night. Something tagged along. And we ended up bringing that something home. So a friend of ours, my wife posted a picture of us at Ohio State Reformatory. And we had the picture up, and a good guy, a buddy of ours named Troy, said, you know your wife have an attachment in that picture? And we was like, yeah, we brought him home. So we brought him home a little bit, and I prayed and got rid of it and stuff like that. But in this field, you never know what you're going to bring home. You never know what's going to happen. And it's important to protect yourself, to pray, ask God to protect you, because you just don't know. I've heard so many things that take place to people that messes them up so bad after going on investigations because they don't protect themselves. Same with what we specialize in more is doing privates. We do the public places, but our thing is privates, helping people who's really having issues in a home, especially if you got kids. But there's one thing we don't do a lot is we don't go in a home after a whole bunch of investigators didn't been there. We had our taste of that, going to places when a whole bunch of investigators been there and messed it up even more. And the thing that I really hate about that is, if you're an investigator, you have a little group and someone wants you to come and do a private, first thing you need to ask them is, what is your goal? What do you want us to do? You get some people that say, get this thing out of here. You get some people that like they ghosts. They say, well, just see what's here. I don't have a problem with that. You just validating or whatever. But if you get someone to say, get this thing out of here, and you just go there and get your little evidence and leave them messed up, you're not helping the field at all. Stay home. So when we get little stuff like that, we just say, no, And then there's families who like to play on it too. They just know you're a ghost hunter or whatever, and they say, well, can you come to my house and all? They'll call you 7 times to come out and do an investigation. Oh, it ain't changed. Well, my number one question is, did you change? Because after you as an investigator go to the house and do your part, that family has something to do too when you leave. And it's up to them to keep up with what they need to do to keep this house cleansed. Got a lot of family that don't do that. So you go there 7 more times, and I used to ask people, I'm like, how many times do you do that? They said at the most 2, because if they don't listen to you and you keep going out there, you're wasting your group's time, your time, everybody else. Just don't go anymore. Say, I'm sorry, I can't help you. You have to be serious about what you do first. And so that's what made us into everything. So, and we love it. We got cases coming at us like crazy, and we help people. Some people we don't even get to do the big investigation and help, because we just go for the interview, and after the interview we just do a simple prayer and everything stops. A lot of people feel that you have to use, I know you're probably familiar with sage and all kinds of stuff. People burns all kinds of stuff and think it's going to clear stuff. But my question is, where did you buy that? What was prayed over what you burning when you bought it? And have you blessed it when you bought it and asked God to remove anything from it that should not be there before you burn it in somebody's house? Because you could get sage from someone or anything and just start burning it, and that person could have prayed something evil on it, and when you release it in the house, you're releasing that into someone's house. So that's another reason why whatever you get, bless it. Incense, anything, you don't know what's on that thing, bless it before you burn it, even in your own house. So that's what we do. We help families now and stuff like that, and that'll bring me to, I always ask people the question of, what is your motive on things? Got so many people in the field that feel that they want to do this, do that, do this, do that, but what motivation or what's your motive that you're bringing to the field? It says here, what is the motivation for what you do? A motive is the hidden reason or desire that indicates and justifies an action. All of us living have a motive. All our actions, no matter what we clinging to, on the contrary, is a product of a motive. We all have motives. What is your motive in life? I tell investigators all the time that if you want to be great in what you do, you need to start with you. Goes the same with mediums, psychics, whoever you want to call yourself. What is your motive? Is your motive in it is just to get a name and a shirt and to be on a show and to promote yourself? Or is your motive to actually dive into your gift that God has called you to do and perfect that thing and go out there and do what you're supposed to do? We have people come to me all the time and say that I feel things and stuff like that. Am I a medium or a psychic? I always tell them that everyone has a gift. You don't have to just be a medium or a psychic. There are different levels of gifts. But first, remember your spirit. Every spirit being, God imparts gifts. The thing is learning your gift and learning who you really are so that you can develop that gift. I'm not a psychic or a medium, but I see stuff and help people all the time. Coming up in ministry, coming up in my teens and stuff like that, talking to people sometimes. I'm a Christian. Sometimes God give me a word of knowledge for someone and I know everything about them and what's going to happen. It's not saying I'm a psychic. It's just God reveals things to me. And that's part of the gift that he's given me. And I appreciate that. So be confident in who you are. Check your motive. Don't come in here with a messed up motive, messing everyone up. And families, have that motive that's going to inspire people, inspire you. And you want to like what you do. You don't want to just be out there with a name. If you're out there because you just want a name and want a team and want to be one of the hundreds or billions of people who does paranormal, then you're missing it. You're missing the mark, And the thing about us is that if we are not known, I'm still happy because it's not about knowing who we are. People say, well, you want to vend? Put this stuff up there. It's good to vend. It's good to have all types of stuff up there. But us working with families, we try to keep that private. We don't vend stuff, but we might, helping Lorraine Warren out, put some stuff out about her and stuff like that. But it's good to just be comfortable in who you are, whether you're recognized or not. My question to all the paranormal groups and investigators is that if you didn't have a name, if no one know who you were, would you still do it? That's the big thing. And for us is, yes, we don't need it. We gonna do it anyway. That's helping people out. God knows our name. He knows who we are. That's all that counts. It's good. And as you begin to operate in that way, then God will bless you and you automatically be known like that. You don't have to make yourself known. It'll come naturally. So I'm worried about people who try to push themselves out there to get known. Just do what you do and God will elevate you and you will eventually be known. That's how we feel. And so what I wanted to do is, this theme of this conference is Land of Imagination. I like that. And this fair is kind of like, it doesn't just do the paranormal, it does everything. And my thing is, all of us at some time have an imagination. I know I do. I be dreaming big time, like when a kid dreamed all kinds of stuff. But us to have imagination is awesome because we get to have that imagination and use our faith. And I know a lot of people know what faith means. Substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So we begin to have faith in what we imagine. I tell people all the time, I always hear people say, I want to do this. I want to be this. I wish I was this. So hopefully I could be this. So my thing is, put yourself there. When you're home in bed, if you have that paranormal group and you really want to do some real serious, really good stuff, imagine it. And as you imagine that every day, it starts to develop. Your faith starts to get stronger. And as you imagine it, do things in that realm or field to help you get there. Study. It's nothing wrong with studying. I love reading. I love it. Me and my wife, we love studying. We do study on almost probably everything. Demonology, the metaphysics, elves, gnomes, you name it, trolls, whatever. We want to know what it is. We want to know what's happening, what's out there, because in this room, you're going to come across people who have stupid questions, but if you don't know the answer, it's good to ask someone to help you, but if you don't know it, you're going to be like, duh, like feel stupid. If someone come to me and say, well, we need you to come to our house because I saw an elf. Like, what? You used to hearing ghosts, but I saw a normal elf. Well, if you know the history of that realm, the fairy realm and all this other stuff, you know what to tell them. You know how to talk to them and stuff like that and get their attention and actually be like, did you really see an elf? Have you researched that? Are you being deceived by something else, just portraying to be something that's not? You got to be careful because we get a lot of that out there too. So, yeah. So when you imagining things, pray to God that he developed that imagination and help you to get there. Learn things, study, read, be proud of what you do. Do your best at what you do. You medium, right? Stuff like the readings. Yeah. How about you? Yeah, an investigator. Yeah. Yeah. Just like that. Yeah. So in those areas, learn it all, and when you do readings and stuff like that, if you close in your relationship with God, you might not even need the tarot card and all this other stuff. You might just sit down and look at someone and he tell you everything about them and it blow their mind. You'd be like, you was in this hotel last night, room 53 at such and such time. Which con came over and then this happened. They'd be like, how did you know these things? Well, I have a gift that God had placed in me, which is the word of knowledge, and he shows me. That happened all through the biblical scene. God's prophets, they come to you and tell you everything about you. You'd be like, whoa, well, that's a gift. Learn your gift. Learn the true gift. And my thing is, after you learn those things, enjoy it. Enjoy it. Be happy with it. I'm still imagining things, imagining big things. Me and my wife, we always imagining stuff. So, and she's come up a long way too, investigating and everything. And her first experience though, when we were in Connecticut at Union Cemetery, when we went to see the Rain Warren, it was a cemetery. And I was way on one side of the cemetery and she was way on the other side. And she looked weird. I was looking at her and she was shaking and stuff. And I went over there. I said, you all right? Actually, the cemetery that we were at, Union, they had experienced the lady in white. A lot of stuff happens there. So she escaped it, not knowing, just up there tallying, trying to figure out what's what. She got touched. Something just grabbed her here, whatever, and all the way down. And it freaked her out. I ran up there. She was shaking her. This happened, that. I'm so nonchalant. I'm like, yeah, it happens. Yeah. Like, yeah, it happens. And it was funny though. So, and that was her experience. And we had some other crazy stuff happen. And people putting witch stuff on my car and all that. And I threw it in a cemetery and prayed and stuff. But you have to, get your first experience. And even if you don't have one, there's nothing wrong with that either. So that leads me to this. I'm not going to hold y'all real long, but that does lead me to this. Whenever you're in the cemetery, you ever go to cemeteries?
My daughter does cemetery pictures, and she just did one in Philly.
Yeah.
She's a big cemetery person. I don't usually go with her, but I get the effect with her, because she's always looking for
Yeah. Well, I'm going to have my wife read something in a minute and encourage your daughter about it. I know you probably been to cemeteries. Okay. When you're in a cemetery and you see a tombstone, when you look at that tombstone, before we leave, I want you to remember something heavy. And I'm going to let my wife read it to you. Okay? And you will know immediately what it is when it comes to the tombstone.
All right, so this poem is called The Dash, and it's by Linda Ellis. I read of a man who stood to speak at the funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on the tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted that first came the date of her birth and spoke of the following date with tears. But he said what really mattered most of all was the dash between those years. For that dash represents all the time that she spent alive on earth, and now only those who loved her know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live and love and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you'd like to change? For you never know how much time is left that can still be rearranged. If we could just slow down enough to consider that's true and real, and always try to understand the way other people feel, and be less quick to anger and show appreciation more, and the love people in our lives like we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect and more often wear a smile, remembering that special dash might only last a little while. So when your eulogy is being read and your life's actions to rehash, would you be proud of the things they say about how you spent your dash?
That's talking about, go ahead. Yeah, so when you see that tombstone, you see that first date, you see that dash, then you see that second date. Don't pay attention to the first one. Don't pay attention to the last one. Pay attention to that dash. That's the noun part, the medium, why we here now. The first part took place. We were born. Now we're in the dash. So we know that last date is coming. That's that appointment that we cannot escape. So even when you talk to your daughter, I give you a copy of that. When you talk to her, read it to her, since she loved taking cemetery pictures. And this actually will have her think about herself. We love the paranormal teaching or whatever, but we really love digging into the person themselves, because we only here temporarily, not forever. This world is just temporary. This isn't the real world. The spirit realm is. So every time you're in the cemetery and you see that tombstone, remember that dash. And when you read that to her, answer that question: how are you going to spend your dash? Thank you. Appreciate it. I just read, study, and believe in God to just show and teach me and lead me and help me. You know, I used to hate reading. I couldn't stand it. But yeah, we got a library like crazy. But I want to learn. I want to know, you know. I don't want to be like every investigator just out there just investigating. Yeah, knowledge is power. I want to be out there and be able to help people and talk to them. And that's why when we go to conferences sometimes and we speak sometimes, we like to talk about investigating or protection, but our main thing is the person. Because we're motivational speakers as well. We do that. We talk, we motivate people, we get them into it. And our theme is we love to bring light into a dark world. Because in this paranormal community, everything sometimes is just so dark. There's nothing light here. So we want the light to shine, to help people. Everyone else, we have so many people to talk about equipment who are really good and to steer you that way and stuff like that. So we got tons of people that does that. But we no longer have really people who motivate and talk to the person about who they are in the midst of it all. Because who you are is going to determine how things work out with what you're doing. You know, we have some people in this field who are dark, who's doing dark stuff about it, you know, which is bad. And you got people in here who are good. A good friend of ours, Dustin Perry, you know Dustin, he's a motivational speaker. He's a Christian as well. I watch some of his YouTube channel stuff and all like that. Sometimes he quote different scriptures and talk about things and motivate people. And that's what we need, because we don't have that in this field. This field is lost. It's no motivation here. It's just about equipment, ghosts, spirits, apparitions, and Ouija boards and this, that, this. And I'm like, how about this? You know, let me talk to you about you. And then after I get to you talking to you about, and after you listen to the dash, every time you're in that cemetery, you could read it and think about you. You'll be able to say, okay, well, maybe I need to check my life right now, because I'm going to be the next one people trying to do EVPs on. If I ain't getting it together, I'm going to be in that ground, you know. And yeah. Oh, I'm close to that. Yeah. Yeah, I had a stroke on Christmas Day. And I was in the hospital about 2 months almost or something. Had to learn how to walk. My whole right side was numb. I'm right-handed, and now it's still kind of numb and tingling, but it's healing. God is really healing it, and I'm out the hospital. I was in a bad shape. I thought that was it for me. You know, I couldn't eat for 2 weeks, so they put a PICC line in me. And if you don't know what that is, that thing, they put it right here, and they went all the way through my arm, all the way to here. And I was out of it when they did it. So I thought it was an IV, a little thing. When they went to take it out, I said, they're going to take the IV thing out. My wife said, that's a PICC line. That's long. I said, what? And the nurse was just taking her time, this long thing. She said, you want to watch? No. I didn't know that thing was, I would have been afraid to move in the bed if I'd have known that thing was all the way on near my heart. I said, goodness, man. But yeah, I got out of that alive. And that also started making me think about my life. And then I ran and started thinking, I saw the dash. I'm like, wow, I need to really think about things, because that could have been it for me. You know, and was I ready? I want to be ready. I want to do the right things and be prepared for that stuff, you know. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We did an investigation in a place, and it was a bat deer. I had the hour, the night vision on, and it went in front of the camera. We were like, there are bats. And it was going to ground. Everybody was screaming, and then it got quiet. And he got out of there, Steve, and went way down the hall. The thing was so funny because it was quiet. And then you heard some say, no, Dick. And it was him way down the hall. The bat attacked him or something. I got it on video. It was fun. But yeah, so that's, yeah. Any more questions? Yeah.
Just kind of a comment, if I could.
Mm-hmm.
Passed away September 6th of last year. And he didn't think he was anything special in his life. But after he passed, and I posted on Facebook, and a lot of his friends, and even when they did his eulogy, when they did his service and all that stuff, all of the wonderful people go, you know, because some people had different parts of his
Yeah.
life. Yeah, it all came together, and people were so amazing. And my husband, I don't think ever realized his dash was such a great person.
Yeah. People don't know. You know, some people dash is just messed up, and then some people dash is, it is the great thing. You know, and I'm like, that I never thought about that when I looked at a tombstone. The date, the dash, and then the end date. I'm just looking at it and going on. But now I'm like, okay, that's the date I was born. This is the middle ground, the dash. That's what's happening right now. So that means that next date coming up, my end date. And I got to be ready for that. So I'm like, wow. So let me start preparing and making sure I'm okay. Yeah. You don't know. Yeah, you just don't know. So you just have to be ready. And I'm like, wow. So now, we also part of a group that takes place and help people and interview people who had near-death experiences, people who have died and had an experience quickly and came back and stuff like that. And when you begin to read and study all these experiences from all around the world, a lot of them are the same, but a lot of them are dark. And then you have a percentage that are awesome. And then after that experience, people start changing their lives like crazy, for the good. And also the great thing about it is that when they change their lives, they always say that I am no longer afraid of death, especially the people who had the awesome experience. And a lot of people are pissed off that they came back. They said they didn't want to come back. They said you just couldn't describe it. They said the words are way beyond your thinking. They say there are colors in that room that you don't even know are colors that are so deep. There's a sound. The music is just heavenly. Then you got those who had that bad experience and it scared the crap out of them, and they are working hard to get it right. So it's a lot to think about, and stuff. And I tell people all the time, if someone passed in your family, you don't really know what happened, where they went, or anything. That just means that they are where they are, and they're there for eternity, forever. So it's time for you to worry about you. Concentrate on yourself and who you are, because you have a time that's coming too. So that's my thing I say to people all the time, But yeah, as you begin to find out a lot of great things about people, a lot of hidden things. But my main thing about that is you could be the awesomest person on earth and no one ever knows. But my number one thing is God knows. He knows exactly your design, what you did, who you were, and everything. Don't nobody else need to know it. He knows it, regardless. So any more questions? Good. All right. Well, thank you. Thanks for coming out in the rain too. All righty. Daniel speaking next, so he will be coming here next. So, thank you.